Yes, guys, it's time to begin to look forward to 2026. And it makes much more sense in November than it does in April, right? Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back to start looking forward to 2026, guys. It's a lot closer than I think any of us realize. It's just kind of crept up this year. It's kind of zipped by for me. But this is the time of year where we get to kind of look ahead before we start wrapping up the rest of the year and some things that we have planned to do for next year. Because I always joke sometimes that people have more interest in what I'm going to read than what I've actually read. But I'm not, I mean, you're not the only ones. I feel like this too. I'm that meme where the person's looking over their shoulder. It's like the book I'm currently reading or the book I'm going to read next. That's what I'm always looking at, like that. So with these guys, it's going to be, some that are out of my comfort zone. I'm looking at some of these and saying, I'm not sure too many of you guys will want to come with me on some of these, but I also think it's easier to take a risk on a standalone or a palate cleanser than it is a long-running series, obviously. Now, some of these are part of a series. Kind of explain what this is. Standalones, obviously, we all here usually read big, long, epic fantasy series. You can get kind of wore out if you don't change things up sometimes. So I like to take advantage of that and say I'm going to read some standalone books. I'm going to read some, maybe from some series that are smaller books and kind of be standalone in nature, or you can take long breaks in between them. So if you look at some of these and be like, that's part of a series. Yeah, again, I'm not ruling out that they're part of a series, but they're ones that you can take a big break between, or you can use in that ℓ𝕦𝕣𝕚𝕒𝕤𝕤 way of, hey, I'm going to read this between big, epic, heavy fantasy books, and I can kind of refresh a little bit before I dive into another 1,200-page adventure. I want to say up front, guys, this is going to be on there. I'm not really going to talk about it too much because I've already talked about this book like 4 times on the channel. It was one I had planned for spooky season. I didn't get to it. It is going to happen in 2026, so I just want to bring it up now because someone will ask me about it. But I'm not going to talk about it. It's not one of the 10 that I'm going to be talking about today that I have officially labeled as 2026 read. So fear not. That one is still going to happen. Still very much excited for it because Philip Fracassi, very excited for anything that he does put out going forward. We'll begin, guys, in the Old West. We'll be talking about some kind of the conclusion here of Lonesome Dove for me. Now, it's not the end of Lonesome Dove in the timeline, but it is in publication order, which is the way that I chose to read it. This is Comanche Moon by Larry McMurtry. I've been reading one of these per year. I can't believe it's been 3 years already since I read Lonesome Dove. And Lonesome Dove is a book no hyperbole say, I feel like it changed my reading life because that was a book that while I was reading, I said, this is something truly special. And it's not like it's a big shock because everyone told me that was going to be a book that they thought I really did love. And yes, I did. I think that's one of the few books on this channel that everyone I've recommended to it, they've loved it. And that is very rare. Because there's always somebody like, I don't see what you like so much about it. No, just about everyone has it on one of their instant classics, one of their favorites of all time. And with Comanche Moon, it'll be kind of wrapping up this series. Now, we are going backwards here. We did you did Lonesome Dove, and then you did Streets of Laredo, which was a direct sequel to it. Then you did Dead Man's Walk, which was a prequel many, many years later, and this is the sequel to that one. So it's the prequel, but it's the second sequel of the prequel. Does that make sense? So it is the last one in the series. Going to have to be saying goodbye to some of these characters that I've really just grown to absolutely adore and love. And if you know anything about Larry McMurtry's writing style, he makes you love every single one of them. He's got no problems taking them away from you. So even with a prequel, what I always say is the problem is that you know that the characters are safe. But after reading Dead Man's Walk, I was like, that don't mean he still can't put him through the ringer, man. And no one else that shows up, hey, well, they weren't in Streets of Laredo or Lonesome Dove. I have a feeling they're not going to be long for this Western world. So in the end, guys, Lonesome Dove book I absolutely adore. I love Streets of Laredo just about as much. Dead Man's Walk, tiny step down, but still great. I don't know where this one's going to fall. I've heard mixed things in the prequel. Some say it's the best one. Comanche Moon is the best one since Lonesome Dove. We'll find out. But with me, it's Larry McMurtry writing some great characters. I am in because, again, I think he might be up for contention with Stephen King as my favorite character writer of all time. He just writes them in a way I just can't get enough of. Book that really blew me away this year was Brian over at BellTube. His ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 pick that we did earlier this year was for Mystic River. And I absolutely loved it, guys. I don't know yet. It might be my book of the year. I don't know. It's close, though. It's in the running for my book of the year, Mystic River. It was just awesome to a point where I said, I will try more Dennis Lehane. The one I've decided to try is Shutter Island. Now, yes, I know this is probably his second most popular book, if not his most popular book, due to the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, which I have seen. So I know the twist ending, but that's okay. I don't think it's going to ruin anything for me. I saw the miniseries of Lonesome Dove. I saw the miniseries of Shogun before I read those books, and they are still some of my favorites ever. So I'm not going to say, oh, well, I know the twist, so I'm not going to read Shutter Island now. No, definitely don't think so. I'm sure the way that he tells it is going to be so much better because I watched Mystic River after I read the book, and I liked it a lot. But still, obviously, the book was going to be better. But with this, maybe sometimes, what I always say, yes, the book is almost always better. In this case, I have a feeling if Dennis Lehane is as good as he was in Mystic River, which I have no reason to believe he won't be, I'm sure I'll like this as much, if not more, than the movie. So with this, there's a serial killer. It's like an Alcatraz kind of island, and there's an escaped prisoner, serial killer in it. They can't find her, so they bring in this U.S. Marshal to try to find her on this island. And shenanigans do ensue. That's as vague as I can put it. So knowing what it's about, knowing how it ends, again, I don't know how much the movie kind of departed away from the book, but we'll find out. But Dennis Lehane, I have a feeling this is going to be an author I end up reading a lot from, just based off of Mystic River. And just there's too many people who say, well, if you like Mystic River, you're going to like this, and this by him, to make me think that he's going to be a one and done for me, that I'm not going to like anything else he's written. And I'm expecting Shutter Island to be just as damn good as Mystic River was. An author I love and haven't read for a couple years now is Robert McCammon. Now, I love Swan Song, A Boy's Life. Matthew Corbett was really good. Had a couple misses, They Thirst and Wolf Hour. Like maybe vampires and werewolves isn't really the thing that I really, really like about Robert McCammon. What I do like is the way that he does write some characters. He's probably the closest. If you say Stephen King fans would like blank, I think Stephen King fans would like Robert McCammon. It does kind of feel like in Earth 2, he could have been Stephen King, I think. And I was really struggling with this because I've read 2 books in Matthew Corbett, and these are standalones. I don't want to kind of keep going along in a long series with that. I do want to continue Matthew Corbett, but I want to get one of the standalones here. And I quizzed kind of my patrons and asked them, hey, I know a lot of you guys have read tons more Robert McCammon than me. Should I read this, or this? And of course, they recommended a bunch that I didn't have there. And it was one of my patrons, Jason, who actually kind of did like a tier list ranking. And the one that he had the highest that I haven't read yet was Mystery Walk. And so Mystery Walk, I think, is going to be the way that I go. Mine was real close, but Mystery Walk, once I read the description, it sounded, that sounds like it would kind of be perfect for me. And excited to do it. Gone South was also in consideration. Stinger was in consideration. But I don't think that I'll be done with Robert McCammon after this. So there's still plenty of time to read those. But hat tip to Jason for recommending a Mystery Walk here. I'm pretty sure if he liked it, I'm going to like it because we seem to kind of be aligned so far on our readings of Robert McCammon. And yes, I will be returning to Matthew Corbett, just won't probably be anytime soon. And Speaks Nightbird was amazing. Queen of Bedlam was okay. That kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but I still trust the process. I trust that he's going to be really, really great in that series. But for now, Standalones Mystery Walk is going to be the way that I go. This is kind of the first real wild card because this one, I don't know where I got the idea to do this. I struggled with a couple of the close ones on here, just kind of going outside my comfort zone. I want to get a fantasy standalone. As you know, fantasy standalones are very hard to find. It's always book 1 of 9, and book 1 of 3, or book 1 of 7. It's always a series. It's very rarely ever a standalone. Now, with this one, I don't know necessarily that it is still a standalone, but when it came out, it was considered a standalone, and people have said that, yes, you can read it very much by itself. But this is called The Night Circus, and it's by Erin Morgenstern. Again, I don't know where I got this recommendation. Basically, I was sold on its magic circus fantasy. Okay, cool. I love the circus, right? After I read Something Wicked This Way Comes, I knew to stay away from them, but I knew I loved reading about them, right? But again, with horror and fantasy, you're going to have very different, but there's going to be a lot of similarities there too. But with this, I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm not familiar with this author. I'm not really familiar too much with people that I know that have read this book. So I have no idea. It was on my Goodreads want to read list, and I was just kind of going through that while I was putting this list together. And someone had to have made the recommendation for me to put it on there, put it on what to read, because again, I'm not familiar with this author at all. The only Morgenstern I know is S. Morgenstern, which is a fictional author for Princess Bride. So again, I have no idea anything about this. But again, I'm just kind of taking a leap here and saying, yes, I want to kind of try to. That's what Clue Illuminati has kind of made me want to do. Take some chances, take some risks, jump out there, try some things that maybe, you haven't heard of, or, everyone on BookTube hasn't talked about already. It's kind of the goal there. But if you know anything about this book, please let me know. The one that's edged out was The Goblin Emperor. And that just kind of, it was real close. It was real close. And I think this one the idea of the circus just sounded much different than anything else I had read, whereas Goblin Emperor, it doesn't sound like it's a copy of anything I've read, but it sounds familiar, whereas this sounds like nothing I've read before. So that's kind of why I did pick it. But Goblin Emperor, maybe someday down the road. The Forever War, Joe Haldeman. Yes, guys, this was on here last year, and it did not make it into this year. A couple things. I never expected the flurry of Ronald Malfi books to kind of take over my TBR this year, and that kind of knocked off some of my standalones. So that's my fault. I made a mistake there. Just sometimes you find an author that absolutely clicks with you and you just have to go crazy. And that's what I did with it. So I did with Blake Crouch a couple years ago. So that happens sometimes. But again, I want to make sure that I do read this because this is considered one of the sci-fi greats. And I very much want to read it. And I'm very excited to. But who knows? We'll see where it goes. Again, I don't want to talk too much about books I've talked about a bunch of this channel, especially when I've told you I'm going to read them and then I don't. Because I feel like I'm disappointing those people who want to hear my thoughts on it. But yes, the Forever War is still happening. I'm going to try to do it early in the year to make sure I do get it done. Like I remember I put Lotlands by Jonathan French on my TBR for years, and it just kept not making. So I made sure I did it early in the year to kind of get it out of the way. And I don't mean like get out of the way like, gosh, it's like a chore I got to do. Just make sure to keep myself honest. I don't want to keep putting the same books on somebody's list every year because then it just sounds like you're doing it without any intentions to actually do it. And I do intend to do it. A book I read 2 years ago and really, really liked was Slewfoot by Brom. And I went into that thinking, this is just freaky. He's kind of more people talk about his art, they seem, than they talk about his books. And then I read Slewfoot. I was like, this is great. This is superb, man. I love this. This is like what I wanted the movie The Witch to be. This was excellent. Everything that I wanted. It was like Guillermo del Toro wrote The Witch. That's kind of how I explained Slewfoot. So I said I would try anything else by him. The one that kind of comes up a lot, and the one after I read the description of it, I said, oh, hell yes, it's going to be that. The Child Thief. Now, The Child Thief is very much his dark retelling of Peter Pan. Now, there have been several people who have taken a stab at this. I mean, I would argue that the original story is much darker than what we know, being raised by Disney. But I think that Peter Pan is one of those stories that can kind of go really, really twisted, almost like, how American McGee's did that with Alice. It was real easy. You flip a couple switches, and all of a sudden it goes from fantasy to dark horror if you really want to go that way. So with this, I'm not sure what to expect. I flipped through some of the art in the book. It looks amazing. It looks messed up. It looks exactly what I like to read, guys. So again, based off of the strength of Slewfoot is what got this one on here. And very excited to do that because that's one, like I said, I think I actually had that before I had Slewfoot, but Slewfoot kind of leaped it when I just kind of read what it was about. But again, if you guys ever read Slewfoot, yeah, do so. And if you want to join me for Child Thief next year, I would hope to have you there. The next one I have on here, again, is a little bit unusual for something that I would read on my channel. And the whole reason that this book is on here is because the movie made me cry like a baby. I saw The Lovely Bones, the movie, in, like 2012, right after I became a dad. And if you know what that book or that movie is about, it will completely wreck you if you're a parent. And I was a new parent where long distance phone commercials were making me cry, right? You just become a big softie once you have kids. You become super overprotective and it's like, that's my life now. And it just hit me at this time where I was just completely destroyed watching that movie. Now, this book is by Alice Sebold. It has a lot of divisive opinions. I thought the movie was spectacular. Don't know if it swayed away from the movie at all, or from the book, if it was like the book at all, I have no idea. But that's why I put it on this list. It's one I've had on here for a bit, and I'm very excited to do it. Obviously, it's about the murder of a young girl, and she's observing them in the afterlife, observing her family, just falling apart because of her death, and observing her murderer who's trying to cover his tracks and things like that, the people that were in her life before. It was a very, very heart-wrenching movie, and I expect the book to maybe do the same. I don't know. I still love my kids, but he's 13 now, 13 and 10. So, but I'm still a softie when it comes to my kids, but hopefully I'm not quite the basket case I was back then. We'll see. I don't know. This book might get it out of me. We'll see. But again, it's one I said I've heard divisive opinions about it, but if it's anything like the movie, I'm sure I will enjoy it. But again, I know that's not like anything I usually read on this channel. So again, I think taking chances on standalones are something that is a lot easier of a decision to make. Much like with High Fidelity by Nick Hornby. Now this one, I did a video last Valentine's Day about romance books I might actually read. And a lot of people were like, yeah, it's a fringe romance book, High Fidelity. But I guess what this guy does is I think I saw the John Cusack movie, God, like when it was new, like 20-something years ago. So I don't really remember much about it. I think that he works at a record shop and his girlfriend breaks up with him, and he's like, basically, I ain't missing you at all, that kind of thing. Good song, by the way, John Wayne. But it's one of those where he starts ranking his girlfriends to prove that she's not one of his top five girlfriends of all time. And it doesn't kind of go the way that he plans once he starts doing his countdown. I'm like one of those people, I'm a booktuber, guys. I love to rank things. I said that's something I could see myself actually doing. I rank my bands, I rank movies, I rank TV shows, I rank characters. I do this all the time. It's awesome. Something that me and my wife play when we have a long drive somewhere and one of us starts to feel like we're falling asleep is we'll just play this game called Pick Three. And we'll say like, hey, Lord of the Rings. Well, who are your three favorite Lord of the Rings characters? And we do like that for anything. Anything. We've gotten the kids involved. If they've gotten older, it's like, your three favorite Pixar movies. Anything. So yes, I am a ranker. I love it. And I am going to hopefully dig this one. So again, I don't know how heavy it leans in the romance. I don't know how heavy it leans into musical references. I mean, with a name like this, I think it might. But I don't know how much was that movie. But I have flashes of the movie. I think Jack Black was in it. I don't even remember it really very much. I just remember I'm a kid of the 80s. I love John Cusack. I saw it at a Hollywood video one night, and I said, why not? That looks good. And I don't remember a ton about it. But at that time, young and 20s, is probably drunk. Who knows? But High Fidelity, that's the one off of that the romance books I want to try that came up first. As people telling me that they think it would be the one that I liked the most. And I think that's because it probably has the least amount of romance in it, which is weird. I love love, guys. I love love. I just don't like love in lieu of storytelling. That's my only problem. Now, this one's a series, and it is kind of a longer series. Now, look, I made a video earlier this year talking about urban fantasy series that I want to try. And it was a video where I was like, these are some series that I think that, look, when I found Dresden Files, it was like I didn't really know how big the urban fantasy genre was. I thought it was like Harry Potter, Buffy. That's kind of where it ended for me. And then I loved Dresden Files. And I was like, this is just like, Hellblazer, which I just absolutely adore. And I was like, I guess you would call that urban fantasy. Okay, monsters in the, our setting, our world, our time period. That's something that's easy for me to get into. So I thought I would start trying to find some of these new series. Now, last year I tried 3 of them. I tried ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤. It was okay. It was good enough that I'll probably continue with the series down the road. Not anxious to. I tried Mercy Thompson, same thing. I liked it, didn't love it, but I will definitely keep going with it. I tried Rivers of London, bounced off that one hard. I will not be continuing with that one. So I said, do I want to start, ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 number 2? Do I want to start Mercy Thompson number 2? Do I want to try something different? And I think I'm going to try something different. And this is going to be the Kate Daniels series by ℚ𝕦 Andrews. Book number 1 is called Magic Bites. Now with this, what I'm looking for is when I was first starting this channel, and I was going through reading Wheel of Time, each one of those books is like this. So I needed something to kind of take the edge off after each one of those books, something a little lighter. That's when I started trying Dresden Files. And I kept reading a Dresden Files book in between a Wheel of Time book. And then it finally got to the point where I was reading 2 or 3 per month. And I'm hoping that for something like that, not really that it takes over my TBR, but that like I have that kind of stand-in for Dresden Files. Now, there is a new Dresden Files book coming out next year. I have a review copy. I'm going to be reading it in December. So that doesn't really solve that problem. But again, a series you can kind of go back to in between fantasy books. Now, I have Drizzt, and I like that. I love Drizzt. I think Drizzt is amazing. But something a little different, I think, is some urban fantasy to get between the whole swords and shields of traditional fantasy, I think. That'll be something to be really great. So Magic Bites, this is the Kate Daniels series. I'm not quite familiar exactly with it. I think she's like a mercenary who hunts the monsters kind of thing. I don't know. But it's gotten enough recommendations from Buffy fans that told me they think I would dig it. It was either this or it was The Hollows, and I went ahead and went with this one. But yeah, Kate Daniels is a character I've heard a lot about. A lot of people, when I said Mercy Thompson was fine, they said, okay, you might lean more towards Kate Daniels, because I feel like those are the two that get compared kind of the most in that genre right now. But what I like about it is, from the descriptions, a lot of people say, yes, there is romance in it, but romance isn't the focus, so it isn't paranormal romance. Don't worry about it. That's always a worry, I think. But again, kind of what I said in that romance video is Dresden Files has romance in it. Would you guys call that paranormal romance? So again, I want, sometimes you want your characters to get together. That's fine. It's just when it takes away from the storyline, or hey, the world's about to end, but I got to choose between these two people. That's terrible. I don't like that stuff. So hopefully this won't be that. Hopefully this won't be so British I can't handle it. Rivers of London, man, I don't know. Just wasn't for me. But we'll see. We'll see. I am interested for sure, just based off of Buffy fans' love for that series. And lastly, guys, we read Ordinary Grace in ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤. That was one of my picks early in the year. Was it last year? Shoot. It might have been last year. When did we start ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕔𝕙? I don't know. It was a while ago. But we all loved Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. And I said I would definitely try some more of him. Spoiler, if it comes around again to me and no one's picked this and no one's read it, I'm going to pick this Tender Land as our ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕔 pick when it's my turn again, because we had such success with Ordinary Grace, and a lot of people have told me this Tender Land, they're saying as much as you, Mike, as much as you love Mark Twain, like Huck and Finn, I think you would absolutely dig this. It is very much almost his retelling of it in a different time period, different setting, different characters, obviously, but his love for Mark Twain is there, and I think that Mark Twain is one of the most misunderstood and misrepresented authors of all time. I think people say stuff about Mark Twain without knowing anything about him, and they don't realize how forward-thinking Mark Twain really was. And I think he was an amazing author, and if it's a tribute to him, I want to read it off that alone. But again, this is one of those off the strength of Ordinary Grace. If it can even touch what that book did, then yeah, I think that it will absolutely be a grand slam. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to switch it up and not do that one for ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕔 since I just spoiled that. Or since we've already done that, we try to kind of mix it up. I don't know, we'll see. You know, we might like the Bosch book that we're doing here pretty soon so much, I might pick one of those. Who knows? Maybe he's opening a new door for me to try more crime fiction. Like I know people want me to try Jack Carr, they want me to try more Michael Connelly, things like that. Maybe that could be kind of the gateway. And that's what ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕔 is all about. That's what kind of led me to some of these standalones here, was researching some of these books for the ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕣𝕔, which we try to intentionally put out of our comfort zone. A little shorter. I think that's what we all need when we have these super, super long, doorstop bricks of fantasy books. I think it's good. It's important for us to find some of these smaller books, and some standalone books are very, very important. People ask me all the time, if I'm struggling with reading or I have a reading burnout, what do you recommend? Switch genres, find a standalone, man. That's always the best formula that I can recommend. So I know that some of these, again, are a little out of left field, and people are like, I would have never guessed you would cover a book like that. But again, I want to take some chances. I want to kind of keep things fresh, and I hope you guys will join me for some or all these. It'd be great if you guys join me for all of them. So guys, if you have any standalone plans in 2026, am I a psycho for thinking this far ahead? I mean, we're only like 6 weeks away from the new year now. Wow, that's really kind of crazy to say. I ain't even thought about Christmas yet. But hey, I want to know about them. Go ahead and drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you guys have planned for 2026, and if you will join me for any of these, and I will talk to you there.